our flag over here. Squeeze it right. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Very good. Okay, welcome our board members that are out there. We have, and also our members that are watching on Facebook right now. We're all hooked up live, ready to go, which is good. We have 3 of our board members that are not able to be with us today, but they are with us on Zoom, and that is Mike, Jim, and David, and here we have Wendy, Tom, and Trish, and myself, and Brian in the meeting. So we're going to start with the approval of the board meeting minutes. And Trish?
Yes. I move to approve the MLCC board meeting minutes dated August the 29th, executive meeting minutes dated August the 5th, August the 25th, and August the 27th, and August the 29th.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of the board meetings that were stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. You have approved those minutes. Next, we have the member comments portion, and we have some member comments, and I'm going to start with. I'll be happy to read these comments. Keep in mind that the comments for this particular meeting are just that. They're member comments, and you are allowed to comment on whatever you feel like at these meetings, and for anything that concerns the club here. If it's not on our agenda, we may not respond to it, and we probably won't because it's not on the agenda. And if even if it is on the agenda, this is the comment section. This is not the question and answer section, which was, we did one of those last Saturday or the Saturday before or something like that. They're all kind of running together. But so that's just kind of how these meetings are structured. I know that gets confusing sometimes out there, if you haven't actually been on this board for a while, which is, most people haven't. So, if someone asked, where do people get questions answered? And they get them answered with me or with Brian or any of your board members here. Email us, ask us those questions. That's what we're, kind of here for. And, Brian is certainly, answers quite a few members' questions all week long. And I know I get quite a few, and I know our board members do too. So that's where you get answers to your questions when you have questions like that. But these are comments that you want everybody to hear. And so I'll start with the one I was bringing up on my phone here. I'll start with Sue Ketchum. And Sue asks, why are we expending funds for architects for projects that may never go forward? Golf shop in the parking lot is a huge leap. We've wasted so much money in the past on architects for projects that never come to fruition. This is wasteful. Feel free to make this a member comment. So anyway, that's Sue's comment, and I hear you, and that's I'm sure when we get to that section on those RFCAs, we'll discuss that even further, and that'll be one of the points I'm sure that's made. Other comments I have 3 comments here on 3 separate comments on an email thread that, first of all, we have Ann Kepke. The survey that was circulated last month that will be reported on today was so biased in so many ways that it should have no value as a means of making decisions. So that is Ann's opinion. Thank you for your opinion on that, Ann. Anybody, any comments on any of these things as I go through? Okay. John Greiner says we should be waiting until at least the second weekend of November for a large public discussion and then a mail vote to all the owners. And if a project, certainly, if a project goes over a certain amount, that's what we have to do. None of these projects that we're currently talking about seem to hit that threshold, and nothing in the RFCA's today are even close to that, because these are not final projects that are being approved here today. These are what we'll be looking at, and I won't even say being approved, because they're going to be voted on by the board of directors. What we'll be looking at today are whether we're going to go forth with architectural renderings and those types of things to get ready to do these projects. But they, definitely a note's not a full-time commitment to the project just yet. So, and I also believe by the second weekend of November, we probably still won't be meeting in a large group. So it's get those comments into us. We are working by email and telephones and all that other stuff right now. Okay, the last comment on this thread is from Ann Fergala, and says, after a town hall meeting, our town meeting, where people were certainly questioning whether they needed or wanted a revamp of the sand wedge and whether they wanted the pro shop moved to the parking lot, how does this get on the agenda for spending $26,500 for architectural renderings or whatever, and then another $13,750 for a maintenance facility for a total of $40,250? I thought there were going to be another unbiased survey done, and maybe we should have an actual vote on, do you want to spend $13,750 for architectural studies on the sand wedge and the pro shop? How did this happen? Well, we put it on the agenda is how it happened. And the other thing about this is that we are, since this is on the agenda today, I do take some issue with the idea that that survey was biased. I just don't believe it. You had your chance to express your opinion, and I do not believe that that survey was biased. Was it thorough enough? I don't know. You could probably argue that. Was it as many as we normally have for a normal election? Well, no, it was probably less. It was a little bit less than that. But arguing the details of whether this was a legitimate survey or not is, I just don't get it. I mean, we have no agenda of putting that out other than trying to get a feedback from members on what they want to do. And I think for certain cases, we got that. And sure, for other cases, it's, probably hard to tell where the members actually do stand, because it's somewhere in the middle, or maybe they didn't understand the question or the rating system right. Certainly you could probably say that for a few things. But I don't think it wasn't biased because we said it that way. And anyway, that, and the other thing is are we going to have an actual vote on this? Yeah, we are. We are going to have an actual vote today. Your elected board members are going to vote whether this moves forward or not. So, all right. So that was the 3-question one. Hang on, I got others. From Rick Ketchum. Rick says, why are we considering RFCAs for architectural drawings that were, number 1, not presented or approved by the Finance Committee, 2, are for a project whose scope and costs have not been fully outlined in detail for the membership to review and comment on? Yeah, both of those are true. And the second part, well, that's part of the reason we have to do the architectural drawings and renderings, is to be able to understand a little bit better on the cost of these projects. So that's kind of why we're doing them. Why this isn't going through the Finance Committee? Well, that might be a good question, but this board is the one that's going to make this decision. And this is not the first time that anything like that has occurred, has skipped the Finance Committee. So, we're not setting a new precedent here by voting on this as a board, but we're trying to get going on projects or push them aside, one or the other, instead of just hanging out there discussing them endlessly let's get some answers on whether we're going to move forward or not, at least to the second step. Last question. Or comment, I should say. Since I went through that whole rant about comments, I should. Has the board of directors given any thought to extending the food minimum deadline to the end of the year with the COVID impact, especially for our Canadian members? And I have to say that, it's not like we never thought of it, but, your food minimum is $20 a month for 12 months, $240 for the year. No, we did not decide to do that. We've been doing quite a bit of business out of our snack bar, and with to-go orders and some of our butcher packages and those types of things. And, I am kind of unaware of Canadians coming back prior to the end of September to spend the rest of their food minimum. I'm kind of used to not seeing them until November, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are a few out there, and if there are, I apologize for that. But that's that's kind of the way it goes. I'm learning as being on this board that the end of the food minimum, that food minimum deadline, is a really tough time for people because they know they have to use up their food minimum, and so it. We get a lot of people contacting us for different reasons on why they can't use it, and I get it. But bottom line is it's $240 a year, and try to use it up a little sooner, I would say, because this is waiting till the last minute thing is probably not going to work. And I know that doesn't answer the Canadian members' issue, but like I say, this would be news to me if they're coming back in September to use their food minimum, but maybe they are. Anyway, those are our comments. Anything else on those? What else do we have here? Manager's report. We're going to Brian.
All right, thank you very much. So getting into the detail of the operations, the first statement, so the club through August 31st is $331,946 better than the budgeted forecast for 2020. The financial packet is online. Page 15 of the current financial packet will also detail all the operating units and their performance to budget. Page 15 also details we are behind revenue forecast for the year of $248,000 and ahead of expense forecast by $580,000. The savings and expenses year to date are more significant than the loss of revenue, creating a positive result through August. Some department details to touch on. The metrics driving food and beverage. Food and beverage on page 17. Overall liquor year to date for cost of goods sold is 26.56% against a budget of 31%. Yes, we've had some closures and the bar's been closed, but we still have been doing pool service and out of the sandwich. Diana's doing a great job of controlling costs on the liquor we are selling. Overall food year to date, cost of goods sold is 45.21 against a budget of 41. Higher food cost is a net effect of COVID-19 and higher than forecast vendor pricing. The supply chain has had some increases, and we did not forecast for that when we completed the budget last November. Sandwich, page 18 on the financial packet. The restaurant is still behind forecast for 2020, but has eclipsed last year's revenue year to date. That's thank you to the membership for using that amenity. The daily specials, price points, and communication/marketing with our owners has helped drive revenue to this amenity. Golf shop. Golf operations shows a deficit to budget of $49,639. The variance is in outside guest fees and green fees for members bringing guests. The golf variance year to date is green fee related. November, we plan on an aggressive marketing initiative to all communication channels, online booking engines, and targeted marketing through our Facebook page to cut this deficit before year end. GCM, page 28, that's Raphael's unit, golf course maintenance. Key areas to note in this department are the savings in payroll and related costs, gas and oil, and chemicals. The last 3 months of the year are critical for Raphael, and he's working towards a high quality overseed product paired with focus on expenditures for his department. We wish Raphael and his team the best of luck with Mother Nature this year. Last year we had 70-mile-an-hour winds during our our overseed process. COVID-19, we've had some new news on the restrictions. Restrictions have now been modified from the County of Riverside, and closed and restricted minis are now opening. Hot tubs at the club are now open, reduced capacities to 2 persons or less. The gym can now operate at 10% capacity. The bar lounge is open to 25% capacity, and that operation is running 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 9/26 and 9/27. The ability to open and reduce capacities for now is progress. We hope to see increased capacity limits in the month of November. To go over the food and beverage happenings for September, we do want to touch on the food minimum does expire 9/30. Restaurant delivery and takeout service, this is the last weekend before the October food and beverage closure. Saturday 5 to 8, we have delivery service tonight for the main restaurant. The bar lounge will be open 10 to 4 tomorrow and then closed on 9/28. Sandwich will be open 6:30 to 6 p.m. daily operations with daily specials. The Sandwich is closed for October. Golf course beverage cart service this weekend. The golf course closes 9/28 for the overseeding process, and golf opens for play 11/7. Pool service also concludes on 9/27, which is tomorrow. Some things to touch on for October. I know we have a lot of closures, but there's quite a bit of media that will be coming out to the owners the month of October. The media for November that will be coming out in the next week or so. Season opener details, golf season opener details, restaurant hours of operations. So we ask the owners to please stay engaged as there's still going to be a lot of media coming out of the club in October, because we plan on hitting the ground running and having a great start to the new season for golf and operations. And we're really hoping that we remain in the red tier and maybe even move to the next tier where we can open up for regular board meetings and regular activities at the club. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. On to our committees. We have first the Architectural Control Committee. Mr. Stocker.
Thanks, Ray. Give a little bit from the chair. His input was that everything is starting to stabilize out. They have 10 members now, and they're going to be training those new members of their responsibilities and their territory. They're also going to work on helping take some of the load off of Luce from the office, who's been doing a lot of work, really helping out and probably doing some of the work that the committee members should be doing. He says it's their goal to choose the right types of violations to keep MLCC homes in great condition. And their plan on setting each month with something new to look at instead of hitting them all at once. Other than that, there's I'd like to make a motion. There's 2 new alternate members, so I'd like to make a motion to accept Dan Spence and Marie Waldorf as alternates on the ACC committee.
Do we have a second? Second. We have Wendy. Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, you have approved those 2 alternates.
Okay, next we have some permits to get the board okay on. The first permit has already been okayed for a swimming pool at 9501, and he wants to put a roof on his gazebo. You've got a copy of it, so I'd like to make a motion to accept this permit at 9501 Clubhouse for a gazebo roof.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Trish seconded. Do we have any comments on this one? Seeing no comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, you have approved that permit.
We have a painting permit at 9762 Troon Court. The ACC has looked at the colors and has accepted it, so I'd like to make a motion that the board accepts this.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second up there from David. Any discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Okay, you have approved that
Okay.
permit.
We have one more permit at 9640 Lido Court, who's putting in a swimming pool. ACC person has looked at it and okayed everything. So I would like to make a motion to accept this permit at 9640 Lido Court for a new swimming pool.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, David. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right,
Aye.
you have approved that permit too.
Okay, that's it for the ACC.
Okay, thanks, Tom. There is no condominium association report, and our next report is Finance and Credit Committee. That would be Mike Doyle. Mike, who is in a hotel room somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure if everybody can hear me. Am I coming through okay on the vocals on this?
We can hear you great.
We can hear you.
In fact, we can hear you better than normal.
Okay, good. Then first I move that we approve checks over $1,000 from operations and reserve accounts for August 2020.
It's been motion and seconded to approve the checks over $1,000 operation reserve accounts for August 2020. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
And
Next I move that we
have
approve the
approved the checks.
finance and credit reports for August 2020.
And
Second.
do we have a second from, we have a
Second.
second from Tom? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to approve the finance and credit reports for August 2020. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Okay, you have approved those reports.
Next I move that we consider RFCA 2020-31 from golf course maintenance to replace ball washers for the golf course in the amount of $13,708 not to exceed from Par West Turf, the vendor.
Okay, it's been moved
I'll second that.
and now seconded to approve the RFCA 2020-31 for ball washers. Or any discussion on this? Should take some discussion if we have any. Seeing no discussion?
All 18.
All 18.
And there's actually more than that, isn't there?
Mhm.
Because
Those are way
some holes have
over.
several.
Right.
They have a couple at least. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Okay, you have approved that RFCA. Go
Okay,
ahead,
next
Mike.
I move that we consider RFCA 2020-32 from golf course maintenance to purchase irrigation replacement supplies in the amount not to exceed $10,000 from the vendor High Tech Irrigation.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to accept RFCA 2020-32 for irrigation supplies. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
opposed, nay. You have approved RFCA 2020-32.
Okay, next I move that we consider RFCA 2020-33 from clubhouse maintenance to purchase a salamander boiler for the kitchen in an amount not to exceed $3,400 from Central Restaurant Supplies as the vendor.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to approve RFCA 2020-33 for the kitchen supplies, I guess this is, huh?
Michael,
And,
does that include installation?
Yes, James.
I'd have to defer that to Brian.
James does the
I think
installation.
James installs it, but I'm not sure.
Aye.
Okay, do we have any other discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, you have approved RFCA 2020-33.
Okay, next I move that we consider RFCA 2020-34 from clubhouse maintenance for the repair and maintenance on the clubhouse patio concrete on the outside patio, not to exceed $4,820 from the vendor Concrete by Design.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve RFCA 2020-34 clubhouse maintenance, and any discussion on this particular RFCA?
No.
No? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Okay, you have approved RFCA 2020-34.
And then just the last comment I'd make is just our budget process for fiscal year 21 is going along well, and our next budget meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday. So we'll be continuing to make progress on that actions. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And thanks to that finance committee who puts in a lot of hours this time of year going over those budgets. Those meetings are some of the longest meetings that you see around here. But thanks for all that work. Okay, golf committee, we have Tom.
Okay, golf committee. They have changed the calendar in a couple of ways. Everybody has a copy of it. The main thing is the three changes is November 6th, which is a Friday, will be the season opener party. November 7th will be opening day, and it'll be for members only. And on November 18th, there's a MGA, WGA membership drive golf event. That's on a Wednesday. I think Brian's gone over some of the reasons for this. That they need more time for overseeding because of the cart traffic on it. And they want the grass to be more mature when all the carts go out this time, since there probably still be single cart are going. And the Wednesday tournament on the 18th is trying to encourage the men's and women's golf associations to get some new members. They have a plan to invite new people that are not currently members and spread them around and show them how much fun the men's and ladies club are. So I'd like to make a motion to accept these changes.
Okay, it's been moved to accept. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. It's been moved and seconded to accept these changes. And any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Okay, you have approved these changes to the calendar. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it? All right, thanks, Tom. Next, we have Mike from the Green Committee.
Yeah, the Green Committee is, pulling a lot of stuff together. I know that Andy and his team, Andy Carney and his team have been working on laying out plans for a number of the things that they see that we need for the course. And I know that there's been feedback going back and forth between Andy and Brian and Raphael to coordinate on all that, to make sure that we're trying to hit everything that has high importance to everybody involved in the process. So that's moving along, and we'll look forward to having all that stuff finalized as we finalize the reserve spending budgets for next year. Lastly, Don Gray has resigned from the Green Committee, and I move that we accept that resignation and eliminate him, future notices on it.
Okay.
moved.
It's been moved and seconded to remove Don from that committee. And those, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, you have voted to okay that. I'm not sure how we go about that. If someone wants to resign, they resign. What are we going to do, keep them around or not accept it? But anyway, let's see, what else we got? Is that it for the Greens Committee?
So that's the end of the Green Committee.
Okay, thank you. House Committee, Wendy. How's the House Committee going? We got a chair, huh?
We got a chair. We're thrilled to welcome Phil Anderson as the chair for the House Committee this year. So we need his approval, and also Amelia Grimsky, who's a new addition to our House Committee as an alternate. Her specialty in life is data mining. So if you want to get some specifics on any data that's coming out of food and beverage or your tournaments or anything like that helps you make decisions, she can help with that. And she was anxious to do so. So I move that we should approve both Phil Anderson as the chair and Amelia Grimsky as the alternate for the House Committee.
Okay,
Second.
is it second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept these two changes, or to accept these two people to the committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Aye.
Okay, we've approved those changes.
Okay, and also Mr. Anderson had two items for us. One is that he sees the House Committee as being responsible for advice on the appearance of all common areas. And so he's looking to have the House Committee comment on anything that we build, including the the bathroom complex out there and whatever additions we make. Because he sees that in our bylaws as being part of the House Committee's responsibility. He wasn't contentious about it, he just feels the House Committee should see that. And the other thing that we talked about at length was the notion that perhaps we could put forward a recommendation not to exceed $15,000 to do preliminary engineering comments, specifically about structural issues that may appear should we open walls. And then his other chief area of concern was drainage, should the pro shop be placed where you want to place it, right there behind the first tee. He has a concern that we would have flood drainage. So they moved to put a notion forward that we have a preliminary, which I think is much more preliminary than what we're talking about, discussion with an architectural engineer to comment on, will we find at the sand wedge what we found at the gym, and what the preliminary discussions might be on the placement out there. So that was forwarded for the board's consideration. And other than that, nothing pressing from the House Committee.
Okay, is he going to at some point bring forward some sort of RFCA or proposal on that, or is that I'm kind of wondering how he wants us to move forward on that. I mean, we're going to discuss down below the sandwich expansion, and that may or may not go forward at all.
I think you went, it kind of, I think it was being put forward that we would discuss doing that, and in the meantime, this new issue came up, and so it's almost moot.
Okay, well, we'll discuss that, because there may be the same exact thing that we're trying to do out there.
It might be.
That we're trying to figure out. And to comment on, we welcome the comments from Phil or anybody that has experience in that sort of thing when we're building things like that ADA bathroom out there. At this point, though, I would say that as far as I'm concerned, that's got to stay with the pool and rec. It's been with them for so long now on their planning. But I certainly have no problem with Phil. I mean, I don't even think pool and rec would have a problem with Phil giving input, or the House Committee giving input on that. That's certainly appropriate for them to do. So, okay, good. Committee's coming along, and that's good. What else we got? Member Communications Committee, Trish?
No report.
No report from that committee. Okay. I'll talk to the chair.
Well, we did not
When I
meet
get
in
home.
September,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
we're meeting
yeah.
in October. So.
Okay. Next up, we have the Neighborhood Watch Committee, and how's that going, Wendy?
Okay, so Neighborhood Watch has very little interest right now, so the notion is that we will try to put together an event by perhaps the Sheriff's Department for the population at large in November for emergency preparedness or something of common interest. And from the people, from buttonholing people and getting them to come, hopefully we'll get a Neighborhood Watch Committee fielded. From what I understand, an awful lot of them are Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
And others that come down, seasonally, and they want to participate then. So right now, we're a bit dead in the water, except for this chattering that's going back and forth between us. And that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we do have some Canadians that are on the COPS program and stuff like that, and but that's a good idea. That's a great idea. I like that. Let's get something like that going, and maybe we can get a good Neighborhood Watch Committee out of that. Pool and Rec. Jim, what do you got for Pool and Rec?
Okay, the Pool and Rec Committee met on September 17th. Under their old business, they had a further discussion on the ADA bathroom, deck expansion, installation of fire pits. There was quite an extensive in-depth discussion by the committee members on the fire pits, and that still has not been decided. It's been tabled until the next meeting. Under the new business, they also wanted to explore if there's a demand for evening exercise classes. So they're going to be doing some more work on that. Under new business, they did a storyboard discussion in which they came up with quite an extensive list of proposed projects that they want to do for the next year. Many of them will be, of course, dependent upon the COVID restrictions, but there's some very interesting projects they're looking at. So their next meeting, they're going to look at a lot of the things they had on their table and hopefully act on some of them. One of those being the ADA bathroom.
Good. Let's see. Any old business? There's none. New business. Well, under new business, we have a few things. First of all, the first part is just that it is union contract negotiations again, and we have although the whole board will be informed on the update of how that's going. Myself and Mike and Trish will be on a subcommittee to discuss some of that negotiations as it goes on there, and that'll also be the last you hear about that from us, because those things are we don't negotiate in public, so we'll be negotiating properly. So don't ask me questions on it, but we'll talk about those things after it is settled. Upcoming projects. We're going to take these, I think, one at a time. And we'll start with, what shall we start with? The sand wedge, I guess, is listed first. Sand wedge expansion, RFCA 2020-35, not to exceed $15,000 from Pearson Architects. And if someone would like to make that motion, and then we'll move forward from there.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to table this until we can talk about it more.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table the sand wedge expansion. Go ahead, Tom, speak to your motion, and then I'll have others speak.
Well, a lot of the reasoning is these three things just came out about 3 days ago, and all three of these are very misleading. That these are down payments for $200,000 worth of projects, and this one says $15,000, but the actual cost is $50,000. I just don't like the way it was brought forth, and people are still talking about what they want and how to change it. Just as of Tuesday, there was input from the board on different ways to design it, and we already have drawings on the sand wedge on how to do it, and now it looks like we want to change what we had. So I think we need to talk about it before we commit any kind of money to it.
Okay, I'm going to kind of go around a little bit, especially since we have 3 people on Zoom, and give everybody a chance to get their opinion in here. Mike, do you want to go?
Yeah, I think that the sand wedge expansion engineering should go forward. The only way we're going to know what the cost is on the project is to have engineering done. Wendy brought up the thing about spending another $15,000 to go up and open walls. That's what all this is going to accomplish. At the point we do engineering, they're going to be in there to give us a clean set of plans to expand that space. It's changed from the original idea that we had because it didn't allow enough space, and opening up that wall created a lot of problems with structural issues compared to just expanding it inside. And I think that at some point we need to make a decision to move forward and look at this. The recommendations of McMahon Group, when we talked with them a couple years ago, that we turned down the money to hire them to do all the surveys. The recommendation of the architects, the recommendation of the design firms, everybody says that we have to expand that space. Brian's a club professional, he agrees with that. And I did, at that point, David, you're a club professional, we keep trying to hodgepodge this stuff together, and at some point, everybody has come to the realization we have a 50-year-old clubhouse that doesn't meet our needs anymore. And at some point, somebody's going to have to deal with it. So at that point, I would turn it over to Dave. I'd look for your input because you're a professional guy that this is what you do for a living too, much like Brian and all these other guys. You know, what are your feelings on it?
I have a couple of other ideas, and I kind of broached on them before. I'd like to take I'll be in next Thursday. I'll get with Brian and kind of barnstorm a little bit. I think we need to move the kitchen down the other end. I've already said that, and
that makes sense.
And I think you need a to-go window, frankly, coming out of that kitchen, so guys can pick stuff up and keep going, and not have to walk in, get out of the car, basically walk in and pick it up.
And that makes perfect sense too. So I think we would incorporate in those directions we give the architects when we tell them to design it.
And there's a couple of other things, but I've got to stand down there and look at it honestly before I can say, yeah, do it. And that'll take. I mean, we can always pull a special board meeting, I guess, within a week or two. There are a couple of other things I'd like to look at. I'm in favor of doing it, but I want to make sure that we're doing it right before we do it, and it's like, oh shit, we missed this.
Okay. Jim, go ahead. You got.
Yeah, I think that with David's new comments and new ideas, I think that we should take a look at what he's proposing, and maybe then we could put together a more complete feel for what the project entails. I think that there's a lot of concern out there about the cost of the project moving forward and how it actually will relocate the pro shop to the other end of the parking lot. So I think that we've got a little bit more work to do on this. I don't feel like we should kick the can down the road, but I think that we want to feel certain amongst all of us that we're making the right decision based on the right data, and it's going to have the right turnout for the club as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Wendy?
Well, and I'm going to come off of Tom's comment that these checks are, it looks like, down payments for a big project where we end up with engineering blueprints from which we can build. And if David's got another idea and other people have other ideas, we'd end up with the wrong, if we said go ahead and do it, we'd end up with the wrong plan. And the other thing I would like to clarify is these $15,000, that's just essentially a retainer fee to get moving. It's not, it doesn't accomplish anything at all by itself, the $15,000.
Engagement fee.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I would agree with Tom that we and Jim, and that we need to really consider this, whether it can even be done before we spend. I would like to take the maintenance yard out of this discussion because it's a different thing. But the sand wedge and the golf shop building, we might not even be able to put something there because of this floodplain that Phil was talking about in great detail. So before we engage somebody to make drawings, I think we need a read from these people. And if there are recommendations from McMahon and these other professionals that say we should do this, there should be written recommendations somewhere. I'd like to see those. Also, there was a discussion in the last meeting that we had that, that came out of the town hall, that we wanted the rationale more clearly stated about the $100,000, how we're going to actually say this, what is this really getting us, except a prettier sand wedge. I mean, it would be prettier, that's for sure. Be nice to have a bar downstairs. But if there's truly savings or expected revenue, I think there was a discussion about a white paper even on it, which is a lot of work. But it would be nice to see at least a bullet list of rationale. Why you think this before we go and spend $200. And it's not $200 for these two projects. I think it's around $150 or something. And then the maintenance yard is the other $50. So, but I think we should table it. The first two. Maintenance facility is different.
Okay, Trish.
I agree with both Tom and Wendy. I don't think this needs to be done today. I think we should table it until David gets back. has his input in the plans. I don't want to again see a design and then we do away with that design and start with another design, which happens all the time here. So I would agree that we should table this.
Okay, anybody have any other comments on this?
Thanks, Ron. Ray, I think Ron and I can get together and kind of go over it. I know Wendy's had some ideas, which you already we already talked about a while back before I even came up here. But there's a couple of other things that are on there, but I want to walk it to make sure that we actually do get the bang for the buck that we're looking for. I think, and the other part of it is I think we need to incorporate that patio, that walkway in as a patio as part of this project.
Okay,
So,
let's get a vote on the particular motion that's on the table, and that is the table RFCA 2020-35. And all those.
Excuse me, Ray, are we tabling it or we're moving it forward? I think Mike's motion was to move it forward, wasn't it?
No.
No, Jim. Tom Stocker made the motion, and his motion is to table RFCA 2020-35, and that's the motion that we're currently discussing at this time. So everybody clear and everything? Okay. All those in favor of tabling RFCA 2020-35, please say aye.
Aye.
Those that don't are against it, please say nay.
None?
Okay, you have voted to table this particular RFCA. That I am going to rule that the new golf shop building is going to be a moot point at this time, and that we will also table that and move on. There is those are I see as connected, and unless I get any disagreement out there, I'm going to put that also with the other RFCA, and we'll table both of those right now. Seeing no disagreement, we're going to do that. Maintenance facility RFCA 2020-37, not to exceed $13,750. We'll take this separately. Do we have a motion concerning this?
I move that we approve RFCA 2020-37, not to exceed $13,750 for the maintenance facility. That needs to be done to help our workers and the
Let's get a
equipment.
second. We'll have
I
you.
second.
It's been seconded up there. Okay, and so Trish, go ahead and speak to it now.
Who seconded it?
I think it was Jim or David.
David. Okay.
David.
David.
All right, David. I think that really needs to be done. At least we would be moving in the right direction to protect our equipment and our employees. And this has been around for the last 4, 5, 6 years. So I'd like to see us move forward on that.
Go ahead, Tom.
I agree that we need to do something with this maintenance facility. I'm kind of concerned that I thought we had a future planning committee to look at projects like this and have their input before we go so far forward to commit over $50,000 to it. I'm not against it at all. I just think that we need some input from what it's supposed to be a committee process. We had a future planning committee ad hoc if we need it, and this looks like it fits that category pretty good.
We don't even have a future planning committee right now, do we?
Well, I believe what Tom is saying is that we should kick it to an ad hoc committee that would work as the old future planning committee used to, and have them work on this. Is that correct, Tom?
Exactly. Pretty good.
Tom, I think you're describing two different
Pretty
things.
much.
Okay.
You're
Good.
describing a future planning committee that doesn't exist. If this is approved, we talked about before the fact that we need to form an ad hoc committee to act as the interface with the architect and getting the work done. And that's something that we would need to do. We've got some good names already to add to that. If this gets approved, then I think the next step is that we form an ad hoc committee, in our next, in the near future, to work with the architect and come up with a design build process to accomplish that project out there. But the ad hoc committee has to be in place when we get ready to do the work.
Okay,
The other question is, this has not been through finance yet, has it? Now, the board, I believe, can approve it pending finance committee approval. Am I correct?
No.
Frank?
It's, finance committee is advisory per the new documents.
But doesn't this, because this has not been through finance, I don't think, and because we talked about that.
right,
a little while ago.
we're okay with, we can approve it. It does
We
not
can
have to
approve
go
it.
through finance. With our new documents, they are an advisory committee for these things, and we've done several of these in the past. But in general, the general practice is that it goes through the finance committee. But any other comments on this?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Wendy.
yeah, the not to exceed 13,000, but that's gonna obligate us to the full amount. You're not gonna get anything for 13,000, is that correct?
Yeah, that was just the
It's a retainer.
amount listed, it's the retainer fee.
So if we did that, then the ad hoc committee would be directed to work directly with Pearson.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. And I'm going to assume, since I'm new to this area and this project, that Pearson was the architect of choice after considering others. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I don't see a reason to hold it up as long as you bring these people in for this committee that you respect, the Phil Andersons of the world and the other engineers that are out there that would maybe want to take on this work, if they were willing to go ahead and do that directly with Pearson. But we do then obligate ourselves to Pearson for a full, how much money is that? 50 or 60,000 for the actual
I have the
bill,
right.
right? Well, it's right in front of me.
85,000.
It's $55,000, right? So, once we put this down payment down, we're committed to the $55,000, are we not?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Hey, then what I'd like to do is let's move to change the not from the retainer fee to, let's make it to approve the full amount and not to exceed, what is it, Brian, 55,000?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the RFCA.
And, the down payment, the payment terms would be 13,700 to retain and, the balance due on, approval of the.
Hang on a second, Mike. You're making a motion on that. We already have a motion on the floor right now.
Oh,
And so
excuse me.
if you want to take, I don't know how you want to handle that, but I don't want to mishandle this. And I'm not seeing a second for your motion. Let's settle this motion.
what
then.
was the motion?
The motion was,
To approve.
my motion was to approve RFCA 2020-37 with David seconding it for discussion.
Okay, and we cannot amend this now?
We can amend this. It has to go through the motioner, the original person that made the motion. So if you're offering that as a friendly amendment, Trish?
Well, now
What was Mike's amendment? I didn't get it all. To do
Restate.
the whole 55,000?
Yeah, restate, Mike, what you said.
Well, I think that the 13,750 is the engagement fee, and upon completion of the work product, we're going to owe the balance of, what was it,
55,000 and change.
It's
55 and change. So rather than showing just the retainer fee, I would say that we amend it to say not to exceed the 55,000 and change, whatever that exact number is.
Well, just to jump in there, because I'm looking right at the estimated fees from Pearson Architects. The estimated fees for this is 85,000. The 55,000 number is the arch, and the engineering civil survey is 25,000. So the fees to engage is just 13,750.
But the full amount is 85 something,
85.
even.
Yep,
So we'd want to amend this to 85,000.
correct.
Not to exceed.
The way it
Not to
works,
exceed, because some of the engineering and civil fees are estimates, I think.
correct. And there is soils testing that will be required.
Okay, so that's the amendment. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Is the second okay with that, David?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
All right, now
Where are we?
discussion.
So
We
now
have an
discussion.
amended motion.
We have an
Yeah.
amended motion to approve this for the total amount, which would be
85,000 even.
85,000 even. And that would definitely get the maintenance facility going and moving. I'm looking for other comments.
Yes, what is the complete list of deliverables for that?
So combined fees for as-built, ARCH, SE, and MEP. We've got civil survey, SWPP, WQMP included in fee, and then required soils testing. That's all the stuff that will be delivered to us.
And since you're more familiar with most of those initials than I am,
Mhm.
that would get us to a point where we could hire a contractor and begin construction, is that correct?
Correct. And what would happen is the architect would send out the RFP, and it would be a design build from that point. It'd be,
So then the architect will take the bids
Mhm.
and evaluate them.
Mhm.
Will he evaluate them through the ad hoc committee and the board?
absolutely.
Okay, and so we're not gonna all of a sudden have a whole bunch of initials for permitting and all that kind of stuff that we're not approving in this because this is a big chunk of money, $85,000.
Sure.
That's gonna be all the permitting that the glorious state of California and Riverside County require from us. Well, I mean, I don't know what else you do around here. It's California. It would cost $5 in Montana. Sorry, I didn't mean to slam Montana, but it would cost, about $5 in a case of beer.
And Stan, anything else on this?
And I would just like to make note that it's out of the reserve, not out of the operating fund.
Okay. That's a good point.
Okay, last chance, anybody else? Any other, okay, I'll call for the question then. The motion is to approve RFCA 2020-37 that has been amended to not to exceed 85,000 for Pearson Architects. And all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Okay, you have approved RFCA 2020-37. The Zoom town hall meeting, this is a report on that at least. And, there's not I'm not going to give I don't want to get into trying to analyze some of this stuff on here for everybody, but if a couple things I wanted to point out. One was for this project that we just talked about. For this project that we just talked about, we had a support on that project of 75% to 25% against it. And, I know that people had problems with the survey or whatever. I don't, but I guess that's where we can agree to disagree. But 75% seems like a pretty big amount to me. So I think basically, you've given us that you want something done with that maintenance yard. We get it. It was a little closer on the other. It was like 60-40 for doing the clubhouse downstairs, and I agree. I'm not sure that is an overwhelming, majority. It's a good amount, but it probably, there's definitely more trouble with moving the club or moving the golf pro shop and expanding that. There's certainly a lot more involved there than you're talking about doing the maintenance yard. So I get that there's some questions there. The only other thing I want to point out is, I had it here somewhere, there it is because I've had some questions that it's 90 days have been up. How come we didn't bring back the whole 15 conversion from par 3 to par 4 and all that other stuff? Well, one of the reasons is this survey. And, about 45% of the people had this as the, absolute zero amount that they wanted to do. I mean, they did not want to do it. And we had 8.5% that they thought, thumbs up, they gave it a 1 and they wanted to do it. So, that to bring that project back right now and ask for a vote from this board, it's hard to misinterpret that. It seems to me that it's pretty clear that at least the members that have responded to this survey, and there were 352 that answered this. Okay, they could have been duplicates from the same household. I've had someone tell me that, and you're right. I can't argue that. Yeah, could be. But the people that responded to the survey, that was not something that was high on their list to do. So I think that, you know, that probably needs to be tabled indefinitely until, you know, the enthusiasm gets around it again to do it. Because right now it does not seem to be there. And I know we're dealing with an awful lot of other things, but you know, those are a couple of the takes that I took from those things. Yes.
Question on that project for the 15. What are we going to do with the sod that we bought?
It's going to go to the nursery.
Okay.
Yeah, it's growing right now. We can do that conversion at some point if that's what we choose to do. We can do number 11 and move that over and use that there. Yeah, we could. There's a lot of things we do. Maybe we'll build a 19th hole like Tiger did for his place, you know, where you have this special hole where, you know, if you're tied at the end. Yeah, we'd need millions more dollars, so we're probably not going to do that one. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch on a couple of those things from that survey. We have a lien delinquent list approval.
Yes, I move to approve the lien delinquent list, track 4481, lot number 16, track number 4566, lot 32, track 4481, lot number 4, and track 4009, lot 169.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve that lien delinquent list. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, you have approved that list. Anything else for the good of the order at this point? Nothing?
Nope.
Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting, and we are going to take up an executive session. We have a couple things to talk about, and that's it. Thank you to our Facebook people out there. Hope it was fun for you. It was fun for us.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you again.
Thank you.